Marcus Chen stood in the center of the massive chamber. The walls were made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Around him, 12 different alien species sat on floating platforms that moved slowly in a circle. Each platform was designed for a different type of creature. Some needed water. Others needed special gas to breathe. The ethereals floated in balls of pure energy. Chen wore his best diplomatic uniform, dark blue with gold buttons. On his chest was a small pin showing planet Earth. He had practiced his speech many times. Today was the day humanity would join the Galactic Council. Or so he hoped. The Zephyrian delegate spoke first. Its voice sounded like wind blowing through metal tubes. It had 12 tentacles that moved as it talked. Human Representative Chen, we have studied your species for 5 Earth years. We have read your application for full membership in our council. Chen nodded. Thank you for considering us. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. A sound filled the chamber. It took Chen a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. The aliens were laughing at him. The constructor delegate made sounds like grinding metal. Its body was made of living rock and metal. Ready? Your species barely learned to fly between stars 50 years ago. We have been traveling space for 10,000 years. The ethereal's voice came directly into Chen's mind. It felt cold and sharp. Your people still fight wars on your home planet. You cannot even unite your own species. How can you help unite a galaxy? Chen felt his jaw muscles tighten, but he kept his face calm. Humanity has made great progress. We have ended most major conflicts. We have built colonies on 12 worlds. Our technology grows stronger every day. More laughter filled the room. The depth delegate made bubbling sounds from its water tank. Your fastest ships take months to travel distances we cross in days. Your weapons are crude. Your medicine is basic. We have things to offer, Chen said. His voice stayed steady. Human creativity is known throughout this sector. Our diplomats have helped solve conflicts between other species. Our doctors have cured diseases that your people thought impossible to heal. The Zephyrian's tentacles writhed faster. Creativity? You call your chaos creativity? Your planet has over 200 different governments. Your people speak thousands of languages. Your cultures fight each other constantly. The ethereal's mental voice grew stronger. We see into your mind, human Chen. Your species is violent, aggressive. You glorify war in your stories and games. You are not ready for the peace of council space. Chen took a deep breath. He had expected this. The council valued order above all else. They saw human diversity as weakness, human conflict as proof of failure. Our differences make us strong, he said. When we face problems, we solve them in many different ways. We adapt, we learn, we grow. The constructor made a sound like a landslide. Adaptation is what primitive species do when they cannot master their environment. Advanced species create perfect systems and maintain them. The aquatic delegate from the deep world spoke through a translator device. Your species has existed for only a few million years. Most council species have billions of years of history. You are children playing with dangerous toys. Chen looked around the chamber. Each alien face showed the same expression: contempt. They did not see humans as equals. They saw them as pets that had learned a few tricks. Perhaps we are young, Chen said. But young species often see solutions that old ones miss. We offer fresh ideas, new perspectives. The laughter grew louder. The Zephyrian delegate's tentacles slapped against its platform. Fresh ideas? Human Chen? Everything your species has discovered we learned long ago. Your faster-than-light drives are copies of our old technology. Your terraforming methods are based on constructor techniques from ancient times. Your medical advances use principles the ethereals mastered before your son was born. Chen felt something cold settle in his stomach, but he pushed forward. Then teach us more. Let us learn from you. We can contribute in other ways. The ethereal's mental voice turned sharp as a blade. What could you possibly teach us? Your greatest achievement is learning to stop killing each other long enough to build spaceships. Even that took you centuries. The constructor's rocky body shifted and groaned. Your application is rejected, human Chen. Return to your small corner of space. Perhaps in another 1,000 years your species will be ready to speak with civilized beings. Chen stood very still. The chamber fell quiet except for the humming of the life support systems. All 24 alien eyes watched him, waiting to see if he would beg, waiting to see if he would argue. Instead, Chen bowed his head slightly. I thank the council for their time and consideration. I understand your decision. I request permission to withdraw. The Zephyrian seemed surprised. You accept this judgment without protest? The council has spoken, Chen said. His voice was steady, calm. I respect your wisdom. But as Chen turned to leave, something flickered in his eyes. The aliens mistook it for defeat. They did not recognize the look of a human who had just learned exactly what he was dealing with. Chen walked toward the chamber's exit. Behind him, the laughter started again, louder this time. The aliens were enjoying themselves. The primitive human had been put in his place. The Zephyrian's voice followed him. Perhaps we will reconsider your application in a few centuries, if your species survives that long without destroying itself. More laughter. Chen reached the door and paused. For just a moment, his hand tightened into a fist. Then he relaxed it and stepped through the doorway. The massive doors closed behind him with a sound like thunder. The laughter was cut off. Chen stood alone in the corridor outside the council chamber. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small recording device. Everything that had happened in that room was now stored in human databases. Every word, every gesture, every sign of alien weakness disguised as strength. Chen began walking toward the spaceport where his ship waited. His steps were steady and measured. To anyone watching, he looked like a man who had failed in his mission. But Marcus Chen had not failed. He had succeeded beyond his wildest hopes. The council had shown him exactly who they were. Proud, complacent, convinced of their own superiority. They had made one critical error. They had mistaken human patience for human weakness. As Chen boarded his ship for the long journey back to Earth, he was already planning. Humanity had been rejected by the council. Fine, they would find their own path to the stars. The aliens had mocked the silent man, but the silent man had been listening, learning, remembering. Now he was going home to share what he had learned. 6 months after Marcus Chen returned to Earth, the United Earth government held its most secret meeting ever. The room was deep underground beneath the capital city of New Geneva. Only 12 people knew about this room. Only 12 people knew what Chen had really learned at the council. President Maria Santos sat at the head of the long metal table. Around her were the leaders of Earth's major powers, the heads of the space colonies, and the directors of the military. At the far end sat Chen himself. His face looked older now, thinner. The weight of what he carried had changed him. Tell them again, Santos said. Tell them exactly what happened. Chen activated a holographic display. The images showed the council chamber, the alien delegates, their mocking faces. They did not just reject us, he said quietly. They dismissed us as children, primitives. They believe we are too violent, too chaotic, too young to matter. General Harrison, head of Earth Defense, leaned forward. What about our technology? Our achievements? They called them copies of things they invented long ago, Chen replied. They said our best work was just their old ideas dressed up in new clothes. Dr. Sarah Kim, the colony administrator, shook her head. That is not true. Our terraforming methods are completely different from theirs. Our medical techniques save lives they cannot help. I know, Chen said, but they do not see it that way. To them, we are bugs that learn to speak. Amusing but not important. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the holographic aliens frozen in their moment of laughter. President Santos spoke first. So what do we do now? Chen stood up. He walked to the wall display and brought up a map of the galaxy. Hundreds of star systems glowed in different colors. Blue for council space, red for dangerous areas, yellow for independent worlds. We do exactly what they expect us not to do, Chen said. We unite. Defense Minister Okafor from the African Union laughed bitterly. Unite? We have been trying to unite for centuries. We still have border disputes, trade wars, cultural conflicts. Because we were trying to unite for the wrong reasons, Chen replied. We were trying to unite to become like them. Ordered, peaceful, perfect. But that is not who we are. He touched the display. The map changed. Now it showed human colonies, trade routes, military bases. We are not perfect. We fight, we argue, we compete. And that is our strength. Chancellor Muller from the European Federation frowned. How is conflict a strength? Chen smiled for the first time in months. Because when you fight, you learn. When you argue, you discover new ideas. When you compete, you become better. The council species stopped fighting centuries ago. They stopped growing. They stopped learning. He brought up new images, ships, weapons, technology. While they maintained their perfect order, they became weak. Their ships followed the same designs they used 1,000 years ago. Their weapons have not improved in centuries. Their tactics are predictable. Premier Zhang from the Pacific Alliance looked confused. How do you know all this? Chen's smile grew wider. Because they told me. They were so proud of their stability, their unchanging perfection. They could not stop bragging about it. They think stagnation is wisdom. President Santos leaned back in her chair. So what are you proposing? Project Prometheus, Chen said. He touched the display again. New information appeared, plans, budgets, personnel lists. We tell the galaxy that humanity is withdrawing from council politics. We are focusing on trade and cultural exchange with smaller, independent worlds. A cover story, General Harrison said. Understanding. Exactly. While officially we are just being peaceful traders and diplomats, we are actually doing something else. We are learning everything about council space. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their fears, their technologies. Dr. Kim studied the plans. This would take years, decades. Yes, Chen agreed. But we have time. The council is not going anywhere. They are too comfortable, too sure of themselves. Minister Okafor looked skeptical. And what happens when they discover what we are really doing? Chen's expression grew cold. They will not discover it, because they will not be looking. To them, we are harmless primitives who accepted their rejection. They will ignore us completely. The room was quiet again. Everyone was thinking about the plan, about what it would mean. President Santos finally spoke. This is not just about joining the council anymore, is it? No, Chen said. It is about something much bigger. The council thinks they rule the galaxy because they are superior. But they rule it because no one has challenged them. They have grown soft, weak, blind. He turned to face the entire room. Humanity has always been at its best when facing impossible odds. When fighting against enemies who think they cannot lose, the council has just made themselves our enemy. They do not know it yet, but they have made a terrible mistake. Chancellor Muller looked worried. You are talking about war. I am talking about survival, Chen replied. The council will not let humanity grow. They will keep us contained in our small corner of space forever, unless we prove to them that we deserve better. General Harrison nodded slowly. How many people would need to know about this? As few as possible, Chen said. Maybe 50 people on Earth? A few hundred across all our colonies. Everyone else continues their normal lives. We tell them that we are working on long-term diplomatic solutions. Dr. Kim looked at the budget numbers. This will cost billions, maybe trillions. Less than we spend on military defense in a single year, Santos pointed out, and the return on investment could be enormous. Premier Zhang had been quiet during most of the meeting. Now he spoke. There is one more thing to consider. If we really do this, there is no going back. We will be committed to a path that might lead to conflict with the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Chen nodded. Yes. But if we do not do this, we will spend forever as second-class citizens in our own galaxy. Our children will live their entire lives knowing that somewhere out there, aliens are laughing at them. The silence stretched on for long minutes. Finally, President Santos called for a vote. It was unanimous. 3 days later, the public announcement went out to every human world. Humanity was temporarily withdrawing from council politics. Instead, they would focus on cultural exchange, trade relationships, and peaceful exploration in the independent systems. The council barely noticed. A few minor news reports mentioned humanity's decision. Most described it as proof that the primitives had finally accepted their place. But in secret facilities across human space, Project Prometheus began. Scientists, diplomats, traders, and spies prepared for the longest intelligence operation in human history. Marcus Chen was appointed Director of Interstellar Relations. Officially, he managed trade agreements with minor alien species. Unofficially, he commanded an army of agents whose mission was simple. Learn everything. Report everything. Trust no one outside the project. The Council had mocked humanity's chaos. Soon they would discover what human chaos could accomplish when it was focused on a single goal. The silent man was about to become very loud indeed. 5 years passed like a slow river. To most of the galaxy, humanity had simply faded into the background. They were still there. still trading and exploring, but they had accepted their place as a minor species. The Council rarely thought about them at all. This was exactly what Marcus Chen wanted. On a space station orbiting the Kepler system, Dr. Elena Vasquez finished her morning coffee and reviewed the latest reports from her research teams. Officially, she ran a medical center that provided free treatment to any species that needed help. Unofficially, she was mapping the genetic weaknesses of every Council species. "Computer, show me the Zephyrian data," she said. The holographic display lit up with complex DNA chains and protein structures. After 3 years of treating Zephyrian traders and diplomats, Elena had learned something interesting. Their regenerative abilities, which made them nearly immortal, had a fatal flaw. A specific virus could shut down their healing completely. She had not created such a virus. That would be too dangerous. But she knew exactly how to make one if she ever needed to. Elena touched her communication device. "Chen, this is Station 7. Package is ready for pickup." Halfway across the galaxy, Marcus Chen received the message. He was standing in a marketplace on Trader's Moon, watching aliens buy and sell goods from hundreds of different worlds. To anyone watching, he looked like a businessman checking his messages. "Package confirmed," he replied quietly. "Storage Unit 7. The package was actually a complete analysis of Zephyrian biology. It would join similar reports on all 11 other Council species in a secret facility hidden inside an asteroid. Humanity now knew more about alien genetics than the aliens knew about themselves. Chen walked through the crowded marketplace, listening to conversations in dozens of languages. Most of the aliens ignored him completely. Humans were harmless. Everyone knew that. Near the spice vendors, he met Captain Sarah Kim. She commanded a trading ship called the Peaceful Dawn. Officially, she transported goods between human colonies and independent worlds. Unofficially, her ship was packed with the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. "How was the deep worlds run?" Chen asked casually. Sarah smiled and handed him a data crystal that looked like a piece of jewelry. "Very profitable. The depths are such generous hosts." The crystal contained detailed scans of every military facility in the deep world sector. Sarah's trading runs had mapped the defensive positions of 6 Council species. Her ship looked like an old cargo hauler, but it could outrun most military vessels and had stealth systems that made it nearly invisible. Across the marketplace, Commander James Torres was having drinks with a group of constructor engineers. They thought he was fascinating, a primitive human who somehow understood their advanced technology. They loved explaining things to him, showing off their knowledge. They had no idea that Torres had 3 engineering degrees and had designed some of humanity's most advanced weapons. Every time they taught him something, he was actually learning their technical secrets. In 2 years, he had gained access to constructor shipyards, weapons factories, and research centers, all because the aliens enjoyed feeling superior to humans. Chen finished his business on Trader's Moon and returned to his ship. The quiet diplomat was small and unremarkable, registered as a cultural exchange vessel. Inside, however, it was crammed with communication equipment, computers, and secure data storage. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, Chen reviewed the weekly reports from his agents across the galaxy. The news was always the same. Council species were exactly as arrogant and careless as they had appeared 5 years ago. On Nexus Prime, the Council continued to meet regularly. They discussed trade disputes, territorial boundaries, and scientific cooperation. They never talked about military threats because they believed no threats existed. Who would dare challenge the mighty Council? The Ethereals had grown so confident in their psychic abilities that they rarely maintained proper mental shields. Agent Lisa Park, posing as a human tourist interested in psychic phenomena, had learned to read their unguarded thoughts. She now knew the location of every ethereal military base, the command codes for their fleet, and the personal fears of their leaders. The constructors were so proud of their engineering that they welcomed human students into their most secure facilities. They enjoyed showing off their great works. Agent Michael Chen, Marcus's younger brother, had complete blueprints of their newest warships, including technical manuals the constructor military did not know were missing. Most amusing of all were the Zephyrians. They controlled much of the galaxy's banking and trade. They thought they were clever negotiators, but Agent David Kumar, working as a human trade representative, had discovered that Zephyrian mathematics were based on outdated principles. Their unbreakable financial codes could be cracked by human computers in less than an hour. Every council species had the same blind spot. They were so certain of their superiority that they could not imagine humans being a threat. Meanwhile, humanity was changing in ways the council never noticed. On Earth, the old national boundaries still existed, but they mattered less each year. When faced with a common challenge, earning respect in a hostile galaxy, humans had found reasons to work together. The European Federation shared technology freely with the African Union. The Pacific Alliance collaborated with the American states on military research, not because they had stopped being competitive, because they had found bigger competitions. Human colonies grew stronger and more independent. Each world specialized in different technologies. Mars focused on terraforming and environmental engineering. The asteroid mining stations developed new materials and construction techniques. The outer colonies experimented with exotic physics and faster-than-light communication. All of this research was shared instantly across human space. While council species guarded their secrets jealously, humans spread knowledge like wildfire. The results were impressive. Human ships were now 50% faster than council designs. Human weapons were more efficient and more powerful. Human computers could process information at speeds that would amaze alien technicians. Most importantly, human military doctrine had evolved far beyond anything the council practiced. General Harrison, now in charge of all human military forces, studied alien warfare like an ancient art form. Council battles followed patterns that had not changed in thousands of years. They used massive fleets in direct confrontations. They relied on superior firepower and defensive positions. They fought like chess masters playing the same game over and over. Harrison was developing something completely different. Human tactics emphasized speed, deception, and adaptation. Small fleets that could strike quickly and disappear. Weapons that could be modified during battle. Strategies that changed based on enemy responses. The Council practiced war as a ritual. Humans practiced war as evolution, but all of this preparation was still secret. To the galaxy, humanity remained a minor species focused on trade and cultural exchange. Human diplomats continued to attend minor conferences and sign small trade agreements. Human scientists published harmless research papers and collaborated. On peaceful projects, the Council barely noticed them, which was exactly what Marcus Chen had planned. In his private office aboard the Quiet Diplomat, Chen studied a galaxy-wide map showing the positions of all known military forces. Council fleets were concentrated around their most important worlds, following predictable patrol patterns that had not changed in decades. Human forces were scattered and hidden, but they were positioned with surgical precision. A few ships here, a small base there, supply depots and forgotten systems. To any observer, it looked random and weak. To Chen, it looked like a perfectly designed trap. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would discover what human chaos could accomplish when properly focused. The Council had mocked humanity's disorder and conflict. They were about to learn that chaos was just another word for unlimited potential. The emergency alarm in the Council chambers had not sounded for over 300 years. When it finally rang, the alien delegates looked at each other with confusion and growing fear. The Zephyrian delegates' tentacles writhed nervously as it accessed the incoming data streams. "Impossible," it said, its voice tubes trembling. "This cannot be accurate." The constructor delegate's rocky body ground against itself as it processed the information. 17 systems gone. No response from any defense networks. On the main holographic display, a map of the galaxy showed spreading red zones. Each red area marked a star system that had simply stopped communicating. No distress calls. No battle reports. Just silence. The ethereal representative floated in its energy field, sending psychic probes toward the dead systems. Its mental voice came back shaking with terror. "There's nothing there, no minds. No life, just emptiness." High Admiral Korth of the Deep World spoke through his water-filled communication chamber. "How is this possible?" Those systems had full defense networks. Military bases. Billions of citizens. The answer came from an unlikely source. A small observation post in the outer rim sent a final transmission before it too went silent. The recording played on the main screen, showing a technician's terrified face. Unknown contacts approaching at impossible speeds. The technician reported. They are changing shape. Weapons are consuming our shields. They are not just attacking. They are eating our defenses, converting matter to energy. The ships are growing larger. Oh no, they have reached the planet's surface. The cities are being dissolved. Everything is being broken down and absorbed. This is not war. This is consumption. The transmission ended. The council chamber fell completely silent except for the humming of life support systems. Finally, the constructor delegate spoke. What manner of enemy is this? As if answering the question, new sensor data appeared on the display. The shapes were unlike anything in any database. Organic-looking vessels that seemed to grow and change as they moved. Weapons that converted matter directly into energy. Most terrifying of all, the ships appeared to learn from each battle, adapting their tactics and defenses in real time. The ethereal tried to probe the enemy minds but recoiled immediately. They are not individuals. They are parts of something larger. A vast intelligence that thinks with millions of bodies. They do not communicate. They simply consume and grow. More red zones appeared on the map. The unknown enemy was moving through council space like a plague, leaving nothing behind but empty systems. The Zephyrian delegates' tentacles thrashed in panic. We must mobilize our fleets immediately. Every ship, every weapon. Already done, reported Admiral Korth. Battle Group 7 is moving to intercept at the Meridian system. 200 ships, including our newest dreadnoughts. They watched the battle through remote sensors. The Council fleet took perfect defensive positions around the Meridian colonies. Their formation was textbook. Exactly what had worked against every previous enemy for thousands of years. It lasted exactly 17 minutes. The enemy ships came out of hyperspace in formations that seemed random, but proved devastatingly effective. They ignored the Council's careful battle lines and struck directly at weak points the Council had not even known existed. When the Council ships fired their most powerful weapons, the enemy vessels simply absorbed the energy and grew stronger. Worse, the enemy learned during the battle. When the first Council ship used its shield frequency rotation, the enemy adapted instantly. When the second ship tried the same defense, it failed completely. By the end of the battle, over half the enemy fleet had been destroyed. But the survivors had grown larger and more powerful by consuming their fallen comrades and the defeated Council ships. The net result was an enemy force stronger than when it had started. The remaining Council ships retreated in chaos. In the Council chamber, panic was setting in. These proud species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were facing something they had never encountered before. An enemy that did not follow their rules. We need more ships, the constructor delegate said. Every fleet, every reserve. We need better weapons, countered the Zephyrian. Our current armaments are useless against enemies that adapt to them. The ethereal's mental voice was sharp with desperation. We need allies. Every species in the galaxy must contribute to this fight. Admiral Korth brought up a database of all known spacefaring civilizations. We have sent emergency calls to every species with military capabilities. Most have already responded. What about the humans? Asked the constructor delegate. There was a moment of uncomfortable silence. The ethereal's energy field flickered with embarrassment. We rejected their council membership 5 years ago. They are a minor species anyway, the Zephyrian said dismissively. A few dozen primitive ships will not make any difference, but Admiral Korth was already accessing human space communication networks. Actually, their response is unusual. They acknowledge our emergency request but say they need 72 hours to provide their assessment of the situation. The constructor's rocky body shifted in confusion. Assessment? We do not need assessment. We need ships and weapons now. Shall I send a more direct order? Asked the Admiral. The Zephyrian's tentacles waved impatiently. Yes, tell them this is not a request. All civilizations must contribute immediately to galactic defense. No exceptions, the message was sent. The reply came back within an hour. The United Earth government acknowledges the Council's directive. Director Chen will arrive at Nexus Prime within 48 hours to discuss humanity's response. In his office aboard the Quiet Diplomat, Marcus Chen read the Council's increasingly desperate messages with calm satisfaction. For 5 years, his agents had been waiting for something exactly like this. An external threat that would shake the Council's confidence and force them to reveal their weaknesses. The enemy, whatever they were, had done in weeks what humanity might have needed decades to accomplish. They had proven that the Council was not invincible. Chen reviewed the battle reports his hidden sensors had recorded. The enemy was dangerous, certainly, but they were not unstoppable. They adapted quickly, but they followed patterns. They learned fast, but they had limitations. Most importantly, they were fighting the Council using Council tactics. Direct confrontation, massive fleets, overwhelming firepower. Chen smiled as he prepared for the journey to Nexus Prime. The Council was about to learn that there was more than one way to fight a war. He activated his secure communication system and sent coded messages to human agents across the galaxy. The message was simple. Phase 2 is now active. All units prepare for deployment. On hidden bases throughout human space, military commanders received their orders. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers shed their false outer hulls, revealing advanced warships. Space stations that appeared to be mining operations activated weapon systems that had been built in secret. Most importantly, human allies, the dozens of minor species that humanity had helped over the past 5 years, received their own activation codes. The Council had demanded that all civilizations contribute to the fight. They were about to discover that humanity had been preparing for exactly this moment for years. But they were not going to fight the way the Council expected. As Chen's ship jumped toward Nexus Prime, he reviewed the final intelligence reports on the enemy. They called themselves the Devourers, according to captured data fragments. They came from dark space beyond the galactic rim. They had been watching Council space for centuries, studying its defenses, learning its weaknesses, just as humanity had been doing. The difference was that the Devourers wanted to consume everything. Humanity wanted something much simpler. They wanted respect, and they were about to earn it. Marcus Chen walked into the Council chamber for the second time in his life. This time, he was not alone. Behind him came Admiral Sarah Kim, her uniform bearing the insignia of the newly formed Terran Defense Network. Dr. Elena Vasquez followed, carrying data tablets containing research that would revolutionize galactic medicine. Commander Torres brought tactical displays showing enemy positions and movements that Council intelligence had missed. But most surprising of all were the other delegates following the human group. Representatives from 37 minor species that the Council had barely noticed. The Kree traders from the Outer Rim, the silicon-based miners from the asteroid belts, the aquatic swimmers from worlds the Council considered worthless. All of them carried weapons and wore the unified insignia of the Human Alliance. The Council members looked very different from 5 years ago. Their floating platforms trembled. Their confident postures had been replaced by desperate anxiety. The chamber that once echoed with mocking laughter now hummed with fear. The Zephyrian delegate spoke first, its tentacles writhing with barely controlled panic. "Human Chen, thank you for coming. We need every ship, every weapon you can provide. The enemy has taken 47 systems. Our losses are catastrophic." Chen stood in the same spot where he had been ridiculed years earlier. His expression was calm and professional. "I understand the situation is serious. Before we discuss humanity's contribution, I have some questions." The constructor delegate's rocky body ground in frustration. "Questions? There is no time for questions. Every hour we delay, more worlds die." "Nevertheless," Chen said quietly, "I need to understand exactly what we are facing." Admiral Kim activated a holographic display that made the Council's technology look primitive. Three-dimensional images showed the enemy fleet movements with perfect clarity. "Our analysis suggests the Devourers are operating with approximately 700,000 ships. They adapt quickly but follow predictable patterns. Their weakness is overconfidence. They assume all opponents will fight the same way." The ethereal's mental voice was sharp with surprise. "How do you have this data? Our best sensors cannot track enemy movements this precisely." Dr. Vasquez smiled coldly. "Humanity has been studying the Devourers since they first appeared. We have technologies you are not aware of." Chen stepped forward. 5 years ago, this Council judged humanity unfit for membership. "You called us primitive, chaotic, too violent for civilized space." The chamber fell silent. Everyone remembered that meeting. "Today," Chen continued, "you beg for our help. You demand that we risk human lives to defend worlds that despise us. I find this interesting." The Zephyrian delegate's tentacles twisted desperately. "The past does not matter now. This enemy threatens all life in the galaxy. The past matters very much, Admiral Kim said. Her voice was ice cold. Because it shows us exactly who you are. When you were strong, you mocked us. Now that you are weak, you expect us to save you. Commander Torres activated another display. Our tactical analysis indicates that Council forces have lost over 60% of their fleet strength. Your remaining ships are demoralized and scattered. Your tactics are outdated and predictable. Without outside intervention, you will be completely defeated within 6 months. The constructor made sounds like breaking stone. Then help us. If we fall, the Devourers will turn to human space next. Chen nodded slowly. Yes, they will. Which is why humanity will indeed contribute to this war effort. But not as junior partners begging for your approval, not as primitives grateful for your guidance. He gestured to the alien delegates behind him. We come as equals, representing an alliance that spans over 300 worlds. We bring technologies, tactics, and allies that you never knew existed. The ethereal tried to probe Chen's mind but found itself blocked by mental shields it could not penetrate. Impossible. Humans do not have psychic defenses, Dr. Vasquez smiled. Humans have many things you do not know about. We have spent 5 years learning from species you ignored. While you maintained your perfect order, we embraced chaos and grew stronger. Chen activated his own holographic display. The image showed human and allied fleets moving through space in patterns that looked random, but were actually carefully coordinated. The first phase of our operation began 3 days ago. Human forces have engaged Devourer advanced scouts in 7 different sectors. Admiral Kim added details to the display. We have destroyed 12 enemy ships and captured 3 others. Our losses were minimal because we did not fight them the way you do. We used speed, deception, and adaptive tactics. The council members stared at the data in shock. While their own fleets had been suffering crushing defeats, the humans had been winning. How? The constructor demanded. Commander Torres answered. Because we learned from your mistakes. You fight like the enemy expects. We fight like the enemy fears. Chen walked closer to the council platforms. The Devourers are powerful, but they have a critical weakness. They assume all organic species think the same way. They adapted perfectly to your rigid tactics and predictable strategies. But they have never faced an enemy that embraces chaos. A new image appeared on the display. Human ships scattered across multiple star systems, appearing to flee in random directions. Then the image shifted, showing the same ships suddenly converging on a Devourer fleet from 12 different angles simultaneously. We do not fight with honor, Admiral Kim explained. We fight to win. We use every dirty trick, every unexpected tactic, every advantage we can find. The Devourers cannot adapt to chaos because chaos has no pattern to learn. Dr. Vasquez brought up medical data. We have also developed weapons specifically designed to disrupt Devourer biology. Their adaptation ability depends on quantum-level cellular communication. We can jam that communication and turn their greatest strength into a fatal weakness. The Zephyrian delegate leaned forward desperately. Then you will help us? You will save the council worlds? Chen was quiet for a long moment. The chamber waited in tense silence. Finally, he spoke. We will save the galaxy, including council worlds, but the galaxy that emerges from this war will be very different from the one that existed before. He gestured to his alien allies. These species that you dismissed as worthless have proven invaluable in the fight against the Devourers. Their unique perspectives and technologies have given us advantages you never imagined. They will have a voice in the new galactic government. The constructor's body shifted nervously. New government? The council as it existed is finished, Chen said flatly. Your arrogance and complacency created this crisis. You ignored threats, dismissed allies, and believed your own propaganda about superiority. That ends now. Admiral Kim activated a final display showing the true extent of the human alliance fleet. Thousands of ships from dozens of species all working together with devastating efficiency. We offer you a choice, she said. Join the new alliance as equal partners, contributing your knowledge and resources to the common defense. Or remain in your council, growing weaker and more isolated until the galaxy leaves you behind. The chamber erupted in angry voices as the council members argued among themselves. Some demanded that the humans submit to council authority. Others recognized the reality of their situation. Chen watched the chaos with satisfaction. Finally, he raised his hand for silence. You have 24 hours to decide, he said. The war against the Devourers will continue with or without you. But it will be fought using human methods, human leadership, and human allies. As Chen turned to leave, the ethereal's mental voice called out desperately, "Wait! What assurance do we have that humanity will be any better than the Council?" Chen paused at the chamber door and looked back. "You have the same assurance we had 5 years ago when we asked to join your council. None at all. The difference is that we are offering you partnership instead of servitude. And if you refuse," Admiral Kim added, "we will still defend your worlds, because that is what civilized species do." The massive doors closed behind the human delegation, leaving the council alone with their fear and their choices. 3 months later, the war against the Devourers was over. Human tactics and technology, combined with the desperate courage of dozens of species fighting for survival, had driven the invaders back to dark space. The galaxy was safe. But the galaxy was changed forever. The Galactic Council was dissolved. In its place rose the Democratic Alliance, with representation based on contribution rather than ancient power. Humanity held no special position. They were simply one voice among many. But it was a voice that others listened to with respect. Marcus. Chen stood once again in a chamber on Nexus Prime. This time it was filled with delegates from over 100 species, all working together to build a better future. The Council had mocked human chaos and dismissed human potential. They had learned, too late, that chaos was just another word for limitless possibility. And possibility, when properly focused, could change the universe.